This is a pair of portraits painted of George and Martha Washington. They date from the late 1860s. The painting itself was done on glass, otherwise known as reverse paintings. Time has taken its toll on the paintings. The pigment has dried out and is starting to separate and crack off and detach from the glass. Looking carefully at the painting, you can see the paint itself is detaching and areas paint itself has flaked off and is lost. The frames also have damage. The high edges of gesso and gold have cracked off and popped off, and there's a thin inner casting that runs around the inner side of the frame where pieces of it have popped off and it's missing as well. In this video, we will show how to repair and restore the frames and touch up and restore the painting. Looking at the back side of the glass where the painting has been done, you can see the areas where it has wrinkled and detached and paint has been lost. The first thing we're going to do is get some clear shellac and lightly spray fumes of shellac to slowly congeal on top of the pigment, and then we will come in a little bit heavier with the shellac and make an area of shellac that will hold the pigment to the glass. Using a soft bristle brush, I am pushing down the flaked up pigments, which will stick to the glass because of the clear shellac. You can see now that the flakes have actually congealed to the glass. They become flush with the glass. This is the reverse side of George Washington's painting, taking a look at the flaking and loss of paint. We're going to do the same technique. First, a fume of clear shellac to hold down the flakes. And now I will come in a little bit heavier with the shellac to make an area which will actually make the flakes adhere to the glass. The stubborn flakes, we will use a brush to push down onto the glass. You can see here now that the flaking pigment has actually adhered to the glass. Looking at it from the front side, the flakes look smooth to the glass right now. We're going to let the paintings harden up and go to the frames. The first step is we're going to, all the areas that have had the cracked off gesso, we're going to scratch it open using a Dremel tool and then rub some glue into those areas to harden it up. Rubbing the glue in with my finger, and we'll clean off the glue with a damp rag. While that's hardening up, we're going to make a mold of the inner casting so that we can reproduce what is missing. Now we're going to start the touch-up process. We're going to mix up the pigments and test it on the face of the glass to check the color. We're going to adjust the color and test it again. Once the touch-up looks pretty good in those areas, we'll turn the frame over and add the color to the areas that we tested it on. Turn the frame over, see how the touch-up looks. Make a little adjustment in the color. The color needed to be a little darkened, so we're going to come in with that rosy color. It's getting there. Need to add a little bit more color. Just adjust the color to where I think it should be at. After the color is adjusted, we'll turn the frame over and add it where it's needed. Once the touch-up is added, we're going to seal that with clear shellac. So now it's time to start the touch-up on George. I'm going to first work on the skin tone. Once we get the touch-up color correct, we'll add it to the back side of the glass. got the skin tones under control. Now we need to figure out the pigment for the hair tone. Go a little darker, a little bit more of a raw umber color added to the hair color. And I like that tone. Let's see how that looks. And that's coming together nicely. A couple more areas need a little bit more color. Going to work on the background color a little bit. It's darker grayer color. This background color actually has some raw umber, a little drop black, a little olive green. These colors are mixed with a clear shellac, powdered pigments mixed with clear shellac. Once we get the touch-up under control, we're going to seal that again with a clear shellac. We now have the paintings touched up and restored. Now going back to the frames, now that the chips have hardened, we're going to take a gesso putty and fill in all the cracked areas and loss of gesso. Once the gesso has hardened, we're going to sandpaper it to shape. Going to clean off all the traces of dust with a little aerosol glass cleaner. Now all the high edges I'm going to tape up and cover and expose with tape and paper around it to begin the reproduction of the gold process. First thing I'm going to do is add a little clear shellac across all the areas where the gesso has been added. When the shellac has dried, we're going to smooth it off with fine steel wool and reproduce the clay color, which is above the gesso and below the gold leaf. It's the clay color that was used for the gold leafing process. We're going to imitate it using powdered pigments and shellac. When that has dried, we're going to smooth it off again with fine steel wool. Now, using my secret gold leaf glue formula, I'm going to add glue to the castings that we reproduced for the inner edge and on the top of all the areas on the frame that we put the shellac and powdered pigments. When the glue is dried, we're going to apply a 22 karat Italian gold leaf over those areas. This is a badger hair and a gilder's knife, which I cut and pick up the gold leaf with and apply it to the areas where the glue was added. Now I use the gilder's knife to cut the glue. I take the badger hair brush, pick up the glue, and lay down the gold. Using cotton, I'm going to rub out the gold leaf, which will smooth out over the areas where the glue was added. After the gold leaf has been smoothed out, we're going to start the patinating process. I'm going to first add a coat of clear gloss lacquer. It's a nitrocellulose lacquer in an aerosol can. The gold needs to be a little bit more of an amber color, so I'm using a transparent amber tone lacquer and adding it on top of the gold leaf. I'm also adding it to the castings that we made for the inner edge. You can see they need to be darker, so I'm going to be using a transparent extra dark walnut tone and add it to the castings. The gold leaf on the top edges needs to be a little darker, so we're going to add a little light coat of that extra dark walnut tone over the amber tone. Now we want to blend in the new gold leaf to the existing original gold leaf. If you look at the original gold leaf, there's areas where the gold has flaked off and exposing that clay color which was underneath. We're going to mix up this color with a brush and powdered pigments and lacquer and add it to the areas where we applied the new gold leaf. So there's the original color right there, and we're going to take the brush and add it where the new gold leaf starts on the frame. So the new gold leaf that I added in this area runs over in this section. I'm going to put a few of these marks of color on top of the gold to disguise it, help blend it into the rest of the frame. In this section here, this is where the gold starts. I'm going to put that color right in that area. This will disguise it from the new with the original. You want to lay these out in not a pattern but randomly, and try to make them look naturally and copy the wear and tear that the frame has originally. See, in this area I added it where the new gold meets the original gold and a few spots in between. Again, where the new gold meets the original gold, you put some of this color. Now, the new castings that we made for the inside edge where it's missing, we're going to cut them to shape, add a little glue to the back of them, and push them in place where they're needed. Once all the new castings are added, it's time to finish the frame. Going to get some fine steel wool and just rub overall the whole area to smooth everything out. Make it an even sheen. Once it's rubbed with steel wool, I'm going to take a little paste wax, rub it over the whole molding, and buff it off. This will give it an even glow, an even sheen, which will blend everything in together. And I'm going to use a fine brush to rub in on all the castings to smooth that all out. And now it's time to remove the paper and the tape. Give the glass a little cleaning. Going to turn the frame over. Going to add a new picture wire to the back. Make sure that the eye hooks are sound. We're going to add the wire, and note that I pull the wire so the apex touches on the back center of the top molding. And then I tie it off at the eye hooks. The portraits are now complete.